Hello, hello, hello. Good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm Cito Beltran, your host, and thank you for watching us via Cignal TV channels 8 and 250, as well as on facebook.com/. One News PH and on YouTube, One News PH. You can also watch us on the go by downloading the Cignal Play app. Maraming salamat po sa inyong mga subscribers ng Cignal TV. And I just want to express gratitude because that is a topic that I was listening to earlier this morning while feeding my chickens. Is to express gratitude and appreciation for those around us. And as one pastor pointed out, do not have gratitude in your head, but not express it with your mouth. Or your love is in your mind, but in your heart, but not coming out of your mouth. Kasi may mga tao po dyan na hindi nababanggit yung kanilang pagmamahal and appreciation for their loved ones. Kumbaga, alam na nila yon. Kahit na alam na nila yon, dapat paalam mo pa rin sa kanila. Okay, today is November 24, 2021. Thank you to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet. I will never stop saying thank you kasi much appreciated naman po talaga because they have been consistent and of high quality. So November 24, 2021, Wednesday, the week seems to be coming along fast enough. Pero for those of us who are getting old, we kind of want to slow down naman. Ayoko maubusan ng panahon. Okay, so anyway, let's get on with the day. And for those of you who are wondering, ano kaya, what will Cito Beltran or what will Agenda be featuring today? Well, today we have a guest who will be doing a comeback. He guested before to help us figure out our online engagements, digital media, etc. None other than the photographer, cinematographer, videographer, director, etc. Ardie Lopez, a good friend of mine. And he will be joining us later when he talks about a documentary he did. Now, many people say, so, ano ngayon kung may documentary? It's two reasons why I asked Ardie to come on board. There are many of you young people who are very much into uploading videos, photos, images, etc. Bakit makontento kayo sa mga still images or mga 5-minute or 5-second video when you can learn from a pro how to do this sort of things. Kumbaga, Filipinos can be very good at storytelling and bringing it to the new generation of digital communication. We should start teaching, developing, and encouraging our young viewers and the next generation on how to have dominate in the field of cinematography, videography, etc. So, ayun po, kinuha natin si Ardie Lopez and his special project, which I think will speak to many of you, is a documentary about a Marine, a member of the Philippine Marines, and it was done in a celebration of the Foundation Day ba yun? Anniversary of the Philippine Marines. We'll let Ardie Lopez talk about that later. But for now, let's start our day with the Daily Starter, and I have a very interesting story behind the Daily Starter. This was not originally our intended Daily Starter, but I felt the Lord speak to me several times in the past few days na this is more appropriate. It's from the book of Thessalonians, First Thessalonians, the letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 16, pray without ceasing. Now, many of you will think, ay, naku, Cito, stop being so religious or so spiritual. You keep talking about praying. Please listen to this story. I have my own list of people I pray for, or people who request for prayers. And I usually, when someone asks, I just jot down the name, the prayer request, and we include them. And when we get to praying, we say the prayers. But the problem is that from time to time, pag may answered prayer na, when I get an answered prayer, I kind of just omit that request or cross it out kasi naman answered prayer na. So, hey, so why bother the Lord with an answered prayer? But there are certain prayers and prayer requests that even though the Lord has answered, we must continue carrying on praying. And an example is the other day someone approached me, and it was someone I had been praying for a long time, na who got into drugs and whose life was disrupted, practically ruined his family. And so we covered him in prayer, and we always included him in our family prayers kahit na hindi namin siya family member. Okay. And true to his faithfulness, God brought change to the life of that person, improved his situation, took the drugs out of his family, etc., etc., and everybody happy. So, si Beltran, ini-scratch na yung prayer request na yun. Tapos na di ba? And the problem was, the other day, the person came to me and said, Kuya Cito, please pray for me because I backslid. Hindi pa naman malala kasi I just did it once again, but I tried drugs again. So in other words, when the gatekeepers turn their back, when the gatekeepers go on time out, katulad ninyo, katulad ko, that we are people who pray and are asked for prayers, when we relax, the enemy attacks. And that is why St. Paul reminded us in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16, whether the person has challenges, is under attack, is medically affected, yung mga may sakit, etc., etc., we cannot stop praying. We must pray without ceasing because the enemy is like a hunter lurking about, waiting for opportunity. So yan po ang ating daily starter. I just needed to share that with all of you because all the work you do may go to waste just because you said okay na. Okay, now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline for today, November 24, 2021, the National Privacy Commission goes after spam. Ha? Hindi po ito yung spam na dilata. Ha? Ito yung mga dumadating na message sa inyo na you did not ask for, have no interest in, or are trying to victimize you. The National Privacy Commission, as if you remember, when Chairman Raymond Liboro guested here on Agenda the other day, he already declared that they were going to invite and sit down with Globe Telecoms, Smart Telecoms, the banks, etc., Dito Telecoms, to talk about what they are doing regarding spam, smishing, and whatever ishing there are. Okay, so that's the headline for today's front page of the Philippine Star. Next up, the Philippine National Police drug war finale, no more talk hang. According to the new PNP chief, okay, General Leonardo Carlos, instead of appearing at the doorsteps of supposed drug suspects and making knock-knock o plantokhang, the police would be focusing on community-based approaches intended to reintegrate drug dependents into society. We will assign police officers in barangays who will coordinate with local officials, etc., etc. Maganda pong balita yan, pero paalaala lang po kay Chief PNP Carlos, medyo siguraduhin nyo lang na hindi pa kuya-kuya ko yung mga pulis nyo sa loob ng presinto dahil naka-aircon or natutulog sa mga tinted patrol cars. Like, yan, tingnan ninyo, sa Manila Police, Western Police District, they are shown here doing exercises. Kakaunti lang, ano? Alam ko, dahil police dyan sa WPD. But that's the photo of members of the Manila Police District doing their morning exercise. Okay, pero kung ako yung bastonero, sitayin ko yung malaking mama. Anong klaseng bending yung ginagawa mo? Parang binebend mo, puwet mo, hindi tuhod mo. Okay, let's go back to the front page of the Philippine Star. Next up, we have presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos underwent a drug test to test for cocaine use, and when the results came out, he tested negative, which the presidential candidate says he submitted to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, National Bureau of Investigation, and Philippine National Police yesterday. Kasi po nag-post ng challenge si Senator Ping Lacson and Senator Tito Soto to other candidates. Gayahin nyo kami. Nagpa-test na sila, inunahan na nila lahat ng kandidato. But this is really, really, I'm sorry to say, stupid. Okay? Just because someone makes an unsubstantiated claim, labas mo na yung pruweba na meron talaga, and then let's test the candidates. Dito parang waste of time, energy, airtime, and space for media and attention of the public. We have bigger problems, and while drugs is an issue, okay, it has to have a logical, rational basis. Okay, hindi yung sabi-sabi. Anyway, let's go to the other stories. And there, another photo on the front page of the Philippine Star. We have President Duterte watching a demonstration of the features of the new contactless self-service check-in kiosk, okay, when he inspected the facilities of the newly expanded General Santos Airport in Barangay Fatima, General Santos City. Yan po. Yan yung kanilang build. Okay? So yung Gensan Airport expanded na po. Now, further down on the front page of the Philippine Star, we have first week of face-to-face pilot report, COVID-free. There were no cases reported of infection, contamination, or positive results of COVID in the 100 schools or so that participated in the first face-to-face pilot project of the DepEd. Meron daw pong tatlong teacher na unang lumabas na positive with the antigen test, but turned out to be actually false positive when the RT-PCR showed that they were not COVID infected. Okay. Now, as far as COVID test tally of Philippine cases are concerned, the new cases are 1,153 new cases of COVID. In other words, okay, 1,000 pa rin ang bilang ng COVID sa Pilipinas. So please be careful because the intention, the projection, the aspiration is for those numbers to go lower, not to hover, not to stay within the 1,000 plus mark or go higher. Sadly, the number of deaths continue to be triple digit. We are now at 47,482 Filipinos that have died from COVID-19 as of November 23 yesterday. Okay. May mga nag-recover, 2,182. So that brings us to a grand total of 2,827,820 Filipinos who in one form or another contracted COVID-19. Okay. And below that, you have, baka nagtataka kayo, ano yung pinutol na puno na yan? Ano yung crane na yan? Saan yung simbahan na yan? That is a Christmas tree, a 28-meter spruce. Ha? Ano yan eh? Tunay na puno that is being lifted by a crane to be set up at the St. Peter's Square in the Vatican yesterday sa Rome, Italy. Hindi lang po sa Washington may Christmas tree, hindi lang sa New York City, pati dun sa St. Peter's Square merong giant Christmas tree. Huwag lang pong babagsak at malaki-laking puno yan. Okay. Further, in the front page, okay, we have sad news, but ultimately that is where the path, the direction we will all be taking. Francisca Susano, the Philippine super centenarian who reached 124 years old, has passed away. Lola Iska witnessed important stages in the history of the Philippines over the past 100 years, being older than the Declaration of Philippine Independence from Spain. Kumbaga, she has lived a very interesting, colorful life, but also a life that has witnessed so much upheaval and tragedy. So now may she go in peace to the Lord our God and to our Lord Jesus Christ. And last but not the least, nakarating na. They finally arrived. Maraming mga marinong masaya. Okay, Navy. Both the supply boats of the Philippine Navy have arrived at the Ayungin Shoal to replenish the depleted stocks of the garrison daw doon sa BRP Sierra Madre. Please read my column today in the Philippine Star, Cito. Yung pangalan, tawag ko nga doon po BRP Kalawang, because I just wanted to suggest that we should put up a marine research center, a shelter, etc., etc., and maybe appeal to our allies, the United States, France, Germany, and Australia. Magtulong-tulong tayo magtayo ng International Marine Observation and Research Facility dyan sa Ayungin para hindi naman kinakalawang na barko ang nagre-represent ng ating territory and domain. Kasi biruin ninyo, ang muhon natin, kinakalawang na barko. And by tradition, boats that have served their purpose and need to be decommissioned, are either sold or sunk, particularly boats that were used in active service. Kumbaga, dapat pinalulubog at pinananahimik na sa ilalim ng dagat, hindi dinadagdag sa bahura. Okay, now that's all the news in the front page of the Philippine Star. Let's now check on our guest if we have the connection. Dapat naman, ano, meron pong story na ginawa. There's a story about Medal of Valor awardee Corporal Hener Tinangag, who lost his life fighting for the country in the 27 Marawi Siege. Okay, now this story was put into a documentary by Ardie Lopez. He directed the documentary Giting at Tapang. Let's bring in digital lead for Mobility Philippines, owner and creative director of Sound Idea Communications, a good friend of mine and fellow motoring journalist, Ardie Lopez. Ardie, are you there?
I'm right here. Good morning, Kuya Cito.
Ang yan ayoko sa'yo eh. Lagi ka nagmo-modulate eh. Parang gusto mo akong palitan ng trabaho eh.
Nakagisingan po na ganyan.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for joining us once again, Ardie. And as I pointed out, there are two reasons why I invited you. Number one is because the Marines are close to my heart. Kumbaga, parang I feel that I was a Marine in a former life. Okay. And I have spent time with several Marines on an island building resorts. They provided sila yung kumbaga displaced Marines na binigyan namin ng trabaho to become our security. But I also have had other Marines around me through the years. So merong attachment, no? But also the other reason that I decided or sought you out is because there are people who want to become like you, cinematographer, director, a video person. So let's get started. First of all, the documentary, ano na nga ba tawag ito? Giting at Tapang. How did this come about, Ardie?
Well, like you said, ang ating pong Marines, they're also close to my heart. And I started out volunteering for them, taking photos, etc., para gamitin nila sa kanilang PR, etc. And after that, my good friend and also UPIS co-alumnus is si Colonel Bim Quemado. Inimbita niya ako na sakaling pwede akong mag-produce at mag-direct ng documentary film for them because they have this incredible story of this heroic deed of the late Corporal Tinangag. Then, of course, I got interested kasi I've always wanted to and aspired to be a documentary film director. So I jumped on the chance and yun na nga, the rest is history.
Okay, I don't know if Arvik has it set up, but maybe we could show the film first, and then let's talk about it. Arvik, if you don't mind, please go ahead. We seem to be having problems with the audio there. I'll wait for Arvik to signal me. Sabi niya, wait lang, sir. Okay. So you got the chance to do the documentary, but knowing you surely went to study Corporal Tinangag. Ano ba ang kwento niya? What's the story behind that documentary?
All right. The late Corporal Tinangag was a very junior officer in the Marines, no? And then when he was deployed in the Siege of Marawi in 2017, nagpakita siya ng kakaibang katapangan and nagulat yung kanyang mga senior officers kasi for somebody so junior, without really being given the orders to uh, lay down his life for something so dangerous kasi meron silang sinusuportahang isang batalyon na overwhelm ng kalaban, which is the Maute. So they had to recover a lot of wounded and killed in action soldiers from a certain distance, about 200 meters. And of course, if you are to recover these killed in action, wounded in action soldiers, you have to do so one by one and without the benefit of being armed. Kasi nga, you have to carry the body physically and literally, the one by one. So without being given the orders, he just ran into the danger, so to speak, and did it by himself. So, 5 katao yung kanyang nirescue. Kasama na rin yung 3 wala ng buhay at 2 sugatan. So, one by one, for a distance of about 200 meters, under sniper fire, binuhat niya isa-isa itong mga sundalo to safety. Unfortunately, on the 5th time that he did it, natuntun na siya ng sniper. And he was hit. And eventually, he died from that sniper wound. And yun lang naman. Ganun ka simple yung nangyari. But it was life-changing for his fire team, yung kanyang mga kasamang officers. And yun na nga, lahat sila nagimbal at nagulat sa katapangan na pinakita niya. And yung heroism niya na talagang without hesitation, he laid down his life to rescue these soldiers.
Okay, let's try to play highlights now so that people will have a point of reference before we continue the conversation. Arvic, if you would.
Mahal kong Hasmin, sana'y maunawaan mo ako sa tatahakin kong hakbang na ito. Walang sukat ang pagmamahal ko sa iyo at sa ating anak.
Sa kanyang papel, magpapakasal po.
Ngunit malakas ang tugon ng sinumpaan kong tungkulin. Ang tawag ng pagkakataong mabigyan ng tunay na kabuluhan ang aking pagkatao.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Ano ang maibibigay ko para sa kapakanan ng marami? Ano ang mailalaan ko bilang isang sundalo? Bilang isang tunay na Pilipino? Ano ang maiaalay ko?
Di pa kami naniniwala na wala na siya.
Lahat. Lahat.
Okay, I have to catch my breath there, bro, because I can just imagine how emotional all of that. If you watch the entire 15-minute documentary, it's a short documentary, and I'm kind of wondering, Ardie, because first I'm wondering how come this never got as much playtime, as much, is this supposed to be just for consumption of the marine community, or ano ba yung idea in making this documentary?
Oh, first and foremost, it was under the Marine Corps Foundation Incorporated. No? So they're the ones who are trying their best to disseminate and communicate to the public what the Marines have been doing. Now, I came to support them, and this documentary film is meant to first and foremost commemorate the 71st birthday of the Philippine Marines, but also to tell the story to the public, not only for the military's consumption, of the heroic deeds of the many soldiers and the so many stories that remain untold. Ang dami po nating unsung heroes sa military na nagbubuwis ng buhay para sa kalayaan natin. So this is just one of many stories. And yun na nga, I'm so glad na nabigyan ako ng opportunity to tell this story for them and sort of like pay it forward. Being a civilian, dahil po sa kanilang naibibigay sa ating serbisyo, I'd like to give it back. And this is like the best collaboration that we've done so far. And I think in the future, marami silang gagawing documentary films to tell the story and, to make the public understand that the military and our soldiers are human beings, flesh and blood. May mga pamilya, may mga pangangailangan. And films like this would also help garner support for those who've been disabled by the war, yung mga napag-iwanan na pamilya ng mga namatay na sundalo, para po masuportahan din sila. So, yeah, so it serves so many purposes. And like I said, it's also a very nice bridge for the public to get to know the military even more, that they are not just an institution, but also flesh and blood human beings.
As you and I know, and I'm sure the viewers know, much of that is a dramatization. It's not, a running time documentary or on the ground documentary. But I get the impression that some of the people who were featured there were actual family members of Corporal Tinangag, like the young lady who was crying and who said wala na siya. Was that his wife or sister?
That was the sister, the one of the young sisters. And then one of the ladies also featured there is the fiance na napag-iwanan niya. And then actually the most significant part about this documentary film is I had no actors. These are all real people. And the soldiers portrayed in the reenactment are the actual team. Ito po yung mga sundalong bumuhat sa kanya nung siya po ay tinamaan ng lahat po ng kasama ko. And we were brought at ground zero. Dinala po kami ng Marawi. And that's where we filmed the reenactment, where he died, where the action happened. And it was so heavy kasi nga all the proof, all the artifacts of that infamous siege were all there. So it was so emotional even for myself and the film crew dahil lahat po sila ang mga matotoong sarhento, yung mga corporal, lahat po ng nakasama niya na during that fateful day. Sila po ang naging cast ko. And in fact, I even dealt with, some people, some of the soldiers there had experienced PTSD while we were doing the reenactment of the death scene because it's like replaying it all over again right in front of their eyes. So it was difficult, but at the same time, very, very significant. That's why this project is very much close to my heart. And I was so emotionally invested in putting this together. And talagang yun ang yung ating artista, yung gumanap na late Corporal Tinangag, siya ay at that time cadet candidate sa basic school ng Marines. And I think by now nag-graduate na siya para maging I think private first class, but lahat sila sundalo, wala pong artista ron, and lahat sila walang acting experience. And the fantastic thing was yung style and direction ko sa kanila during that time, it's more of like not really telling them literally what to do, but bringing them back almost like I don't want to say hypnosis, but parang I wanted to be part of the whole experience, and pinalabas ko lang sa kanila kung ano nangyari dong araw na yon, and then just guided them in a minor way in terms of how to block with the camera. And I had to do the makeup myself. You can see I'm spraying some fake blood on the actors, but they are the actual soldiers with the late Corporal Tinangag, and that was like incredible. So what an experience. Ayun, so yun po.
Yeah. Well, what is the process involved? Because your batchmate in UPIS baka mo
Younger
reached
batches.
it reached out to you, and of course, you are not one to decline an invitation by the Philippine Marines, particularly given the even heavier sacrifice and price they give up for the country. What's involved in the process? So and how long did this thing take you? Kasi now I'm shifting our conversation into, doing documentary so people
Right.
can better understand.
Right. I think because I'm not formally schooled in filmmaking,
Mhm.
like a lot of things I've done in my career, But here, I think what was really crucial and important is yung significance ng story, how it would affect you as a story maker, a filmmaker. First and foremost, you immerse yourself in what happened, how it happened, and who are the people involved, and then just literally uh, immerse yourself in the story and understand how you can sort of like tell it like it is. So here, what we tried to achieve was accuracy in terms of the accounts of everybody involved. I, of course, interviewed all the significant people surrounding the late Corporal Tenangag's story, the fire
Mhm.
team, the actual team that fought with him, his officers, and then and the family. We went all the way to Barlig, that is like 6 hours from Baguio, uh, mountain province, and had to meet and talk to the parents. And of course, we paid our respects do sa puntod ni late Corporal Tinangag na naka-isolate in some area. If you can see, if you watch the film, and you can watch it
Mhm.
at the official Marine Corps Foundation's Facebook page, yung scene doon na talagang literally nag-iisa yung puntod niya sa ibabaw ng hill, ng burol, no?
Mhm.
So malungkot talaga nangyari. So when you get affected by all these, you harness all the emotions or all the raw feelings, and parang when you're already emotionally invested, that will sort of like help be a major guide for you in terms of how to shoot it, what scenes to put together, what kind of music, and if you're going to be using their live voices or you're going to do a narration, etc. um, Sometimes we have to think outside of the box, outside of what's theoretical, and just dive into what is instinctive. In this case, I was overwhelmed by the emotions. I mean, like, I was doing my voiceover. I was in tears kasi sobra akong
Mhm.
affected sa kanila. And then while interviewing the family members, funny, pareho kami nagiiyakan kasi ramdam na ramdam ko, and I had to ask questions, for the camera's sake, para lumabas yung emotions nila. I was asking questions that I was almost uncomfortable with. Like for example, yung kung maririnig ka ng kapatid mo ngayon na wala na siya, anong gusto mong sabihin sa kanya? So eto na, magsasalita na siya. Ayan na, she'd break down in tears. Umiiyak din ako off camera. And then, gusto ko siyang yakapin. Kaya lang, social distancing. And
Mhm.
also the parents, meron kaming konting language barrier kasi they're speaking in their dialects. But maramdam na ramdam mo sa yung pain. You see the tears of a mother who's lost his kid, her kid. But you can understand na kahit wala na yung medalya, kahit wala na yung mga benefits, basta andito lang yung anak ko. But at the same time, in the same breath, they are so proud na they never thought yung kanilang anak na binibaby-baby nila noon, makakapaglabas ng ganong klaseng katapangan, makakagawa ng bagay na even the superior officers were so amazed that he had it in him at that
Okay.
crucial time. Yeah.
So you got invited, you interviewed the fire team, you spoke to the family. Paano ba yung process? I-interviewin mo muna, documentation, verifying the timelines, and then
Yes.
then after that, how did you plan? Gumawa ba kayo muna ng script, or was the script based on the narrative of the encounter and the experiences of the players?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I had to read through their narrative. Of course, because military sila, meron silang very detailed and very technical report of the incident. No, so I read through that, And then, of course, meron din silang representative na officer for me to deal with in terms of who to interview, who are the key people that should be involved in this film, family members, the officers, etc. So, I plotted those kung sino mong dapat interviewin. So, parang I think yung pinaka involved doon, of course, the people who spent actual time and were with the war with the late Corporal Tinangag. So the fire team, and then of course the superior officers who had very detailed accounts of that actual day. Pati yung sarhentong mismong gumamot sa kanya, nag-try isalba yung buhay niya. And then, it was not scripted kasi first and foremost, the story was very simple lang naman, di ba? But very significant, very piercing, but very simple. Nag-rescue siya ng 5 katao, and then nung pang-5 time, tinamaan na siya at nabawian siya ng buhay on that day. And that's it. But the thing is, how do you try to portray this? So it's a documentary, and of course, being respectful to the late corporal, you try to depict this as accurately as possible. So the military, the Marines themselves told me, we will bring you to where it happened, ground zero, Marawi. It's not safe being there still as of this point, but we will, and civilians are not exactly allowed to be there. So we will escort you, we'll bring you there, and we'll make it happen. And true enough, we had 6 locations. We went to all of those locations. It all got together to the point that I had all the materials I needed, all the interviewees, and we went to all the significant places where he was born, where he grew up, where his family is right now, where he died, and where he trained, etc. And I had all this content. The hardest part is putting it all together. So, like I said, this was also a major learning process for me because, I did not follow a template in terms of putting this together. And like what I said earlier, I let my emotions and my emotional involvement in this film guide me in putting this together. So, but
Okay.
yes.
We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, we'll show a 3-minute clip of the documentary for the benefit of those who are not familiar. And then I want to talk to you about the process of, there's always the budget, the creative conflicts, etc., versus reality. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
What you're doing? Goddamn! Bakit hindi mo nagawa yung pinapagawa ko? Ayaw ko yung palausi-lausi! Ha?
Saya, sir!
Dapat mayroong unity! Ha?
Saya, sir!
Understand?
Saya, sir!
Within 5 counts, wala ka na dito! Move! 5! Oh!
6 na buwang pagsasanay at pagbabatak ng katawan ang ginugol ni Hener Tinangag upang magtapos at maging isang ganap na sundalo ng hukbong pandagat ng Pilipinas. Isang matipuno at kagalang-galang na marino. Niyurakan man nila ang iyong katawan. Inunit man ng bala ang iyong kalamnan, ay di nila kayang bahira ng iyong busilak na kabayanihan. Katahimikan mo'y nakabibingi sa gitna ng putukan. Ginising mo ang diwa at damdamin ng buong kabayanan. Bigat ng daigdig, pag-isa mong pinasan. Sandaang libong sundalong magtutuloy ng iyong laban. Sapat na kapatid, sapat na ang iyong ibinayad. Buhay mo'y hindi nalintana at inilahad mo ng sagad. Maglaho man ang iyong mga labi dito sa lupa. Sa himlayan ng bayani, ngalan mo'y nakatala. Pagmamahal mo sa bayan, tularan sana ng lahat. Ipagpupugay ka namin tuwing sasaludo sa watawat. Matuyo man ang luha at tinaramdam na mabigat. Habang buhay na di malilimutan, ang giting at tapang mong walang sukat.
Okay, that was the short clip from Giting at Tapang and a film honoring the Valiantry Medal of Valor awardee, Corporal Tener Tinangag. Now, Ardie, we were talking about being on the ground, going through the different locations, speaking with the different players. But when it was time to put the document together, how did things play out? Medyo kasi hindi medyo magastos din yan, pare ko.
True, true. Actually, Kuya Cito, the budget here that we used was actually like roughly only less than 1/4 of the original budget that was quoted to them. But we made it happen. Kasi like for example, popular na popular ngayon ng Netflix, no? For those who are aspiring to put together a film and eventually be shown on Netflix, meron silang technical requirement. You have to use certain kinds of cameras, certain kinds of post-production processes. Hindi pwede yung, parang you can't typically shoot with cell phones or maybe even mirrorless cameras. So parang ito nasa isang antas na mataas na talaga. But of course here, we made it happen with equipment that was readily available to typical videographers who, say shoot weddings, typical event coverage. Again, we use mirrorless cameras, but I made sure that we were shooting at 4K. Para we had the flexibility of cropping scenes, etc., and of color grading. Of course, you have to have a certain level of technical knowledge then on how to make it work with the certain situation you have. Lalong-lalo na may pandemic. So I had to wear many hats. I had to edit the film myself kasi I couldn't delegate it to a dedicated video editor kasi doing it remotely would just not work with the timeline, the deadline, and because of safety of not being infected with COVID, no? Parang siyempre nasa bahay lang ako and I had my own studio. So I worked closely with a color grading and VFX artist. Dalawa lang kami nag-post-produce ito afterwards. So I had to do the scoring myself. I mean, I use scanned scoring, but royalty-free and safe music. But I also wrote the script for the voiceover and then did the audio mixing and then yun na nga, also the editing, yung parang doon ako nasabak. I'm not exactly a video editor, but yun na nga, using my vision as a director to put this together, I think nakatulong yan kasi nasundan talaga yung vision ko in putting this together, and
What,
in a
what
span of, yeah.
Yeah, what lessons, what big lessons did you learn doing this project? As you said, hindi ka aral, you never went to school for this sort of thing, and you're not a video editor, etc. What lessons or what did this experience teach you that the younger aspiring videographers, documentary producers can pick up on?
Yes, well, you know what, Cito, I also teach kasi multi-platform journalism in UANP, and I always tell my students, no, na you will be surprised by the potential that's hidden in you, innate in you already. Nasa sa'yo na yon. And part of your journey in your career or your aspiration in life, etc., is to discover those hidden potential. It's up to you to tap it. It's you've been gifted by God with so many things. It's important for you to dig them up, because lahat tayo marami niyan. And hindi mo masasabing kasi ang talented ng tao to, kasi napaka-creative niya. You have so many things in you that you can wake up na you'd be surprised. Yun na nga, surprise yourself. Kasi mahahanap mo to in you na you never thought you'd be able to do. And ang kailangan mo lang talaga is a little bit of faith. Mag-leap of faith ka lang. And at the same time, parang konting risk taking kasi parang sino ba nagsabi nun? Si Richard Branson, na parang sometimes when you're given a fantastic opportunity and you're not prepared for it, just take it and then learn along the way. And then parang it's not sound advice for a lot of people, and not in all professions, but for some it will work. And for something creative na hindi ganun ka dinumero, di ba? Parang marami kang mapipiga in terms of abilidad, confidence, and a little bit of, yun na nga, konting faith. There you go.
Yeah.
Yun.
Okay. So, but working with the Marines, we want to honor them. They deserve all the honor and
Of course.
respect. But were they easy to work with? Kasi, siyempre, alam mo, dekahon sila. They have a very strict perspective of life. They're regimented. And they're not the type to show emotion, or did they?
Oh my goodness, they did. Yun na nga eh. Ito yung revelation sa akin. Getting to work with them, them being soldiers, they are such professionals. They are, sabihin natin, of course, pag binigyan ng order, follow first before, you don't question, you follow first, ganun, di ba? So, being a director, I was given the reins in terms of, using them as the cast, as the actual actors for the film. And when I sort of like really appealed to their emotions, na ilabas mo it, you'd be surprised, lahat sila kasi walang acting experience. They have the capacity to tap into their humanity, and dun mo malalaman na lahat pala sila may kanya-kanyang istorya, kasi when they sort of like appeal to their, for example, magpapakwento ka, kasi of course before I request for a person to, like, lalo na marine siya, sundalo, to act for me on this certain scene, alamin ko muna, kikilalanin ko siya kung ano yung experiences niya sa gera, interviewin ko siya just to get to know him. Ito na, magkukwento na siya, and makikita mo na tao talaga sila. So them being professionals as soldiers, they will get the job done, and they will put their, like how they put their lives in the hands of their commanding officers in terms of trust. Pagkakatiwalaan ka niya kung director ka about how to do this, na hindi nila teritoryo, hindi kasama sa skill set nila yung blocking for the camera, acting, etc., and the emotion. So I had to modify how to direct them, but yun na nga, they are so flexible, and them being soldiers, they will do their best to get the job done. Parang walang alinlangan sa kanila yung self-doubt. They'll do it. Sabihin mo na lang kung mali, adjust mo na lang kung mali, but they will do it. And yun na nga, they also made sure that our very small and tight crew were well taken care of in terms of security and whatever they could provide na kailangan namin, hindi naman, alam din namin na talagang hindi kami maghahanap ng hindi mo mahanap doon sa shoot na yun. We don't have fancy equipment like cranes or etc. I had all my, I even did all the drone shots in this film. So, and I also helped with the camera work. As in apat lang kami nag-shoot o tatlo lang. and then and then they made it happen with us. They worked with us.
You know, yeah, when I watch what you were doing, parang some people say, grabe naman, napaka-cheap naman ng production na yan, or napaka-elementary. But I think the biggest challenge was not the technical aspect, but putting or asking this fire team to go back to the scene,
Oh yeah.
reenact what is probably one of the darkest moments in their lives. I mean, I would be very worried about triggering trauma and, baka bigla na lang may bumunot ng baril o magwala o maghagulgol. Were there any tense
Exactly.
moments like that?
There were a lot. I always had that. I mean, since day one, when they brought us to Marawi, I always had that at the back of my head. I was being careful, I was being mindful and respectful, but also at the same time, I was being ultra observant of how things are, how they react to things. But yun na nga dun ka mapapahanga sa mga sundalo. Despite going through the most harrowing experiences. Kasi nga, for example, just riding in the van with them, or walking that bridge kung saan nangyari yung talagang nakakatakot na bakbakan nila. They speak of experiences. For example, kita mo yung butas na yan. Yan yung diyan kami tinira ng RPG ng kalaban na talagang sumambulat yung katabi namin, ganyan. Yung aking kasama, nagulat na lang ako, bigla na bumagsak. And then, when the way that they're talking about that, is parang hindi naman sa parang wala lang but you can see na they steeled themselves in terms of how to conduct their how to control their emotions, but may kita mo na all these things are still very much present in their everyday lives, and they're dealing with it, and
Okay.
so yeah.
What has the outcome been? What has the reception been like? And what are the plans of the Marines? And what are your plans?
I think I'm very happy and very thankful that the Marines and the families of those Marines received the film very well. Sabi nila, well, I think the overwhelming response was lahat sila emotional na pinapanood nila to. Struck a chord. And sabi ko nga, I guess it was also mainly because they were real people. There were no actors in that film at all. Now, obviously, the Marine Corps Foundation and my good friend, si Colonel Bim Camado, is pretty much happy with how it came out, and I think they have plans of putting together more films, because like I said, there are so many stories of heroic deeds that remain untold. So,
Okay.
more of this coming up, and
Well, congratulations, Ardie, and congratulations to the Marines. And I'm glad that effort is being made for people to know the story of our men in uniform, and find a way to honor them and thank them for their services, because that is something this country and our people need to learn or relearn, how to have gratitude towards the men in uniform. Thank you for your time today, Ardie, and please count us in. Count me in if there are any future efforts to bring honor to the Marines, and if I can contribute in any way or the program, we'll be there for you. Thank you.
thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you, Kuya Cito, for this fantastic venue to talk about this documentary film. Always a pleasure.
Okay, and that is Ardie Lopez, Director, Giting at Tapang, and I leave you with this blessing. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who finds great delight in his commands. His children will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed. wealth and riches are in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. That's Psalm 112. And as I started the day today, I reminded everyone and asked everyone to pray unceasingly, and I ask for prayers for myself as well as my sister, who at this very hour is undergoing chemotherapy for breast cancer. Thank you very much for your prayers in advance, and let's include our men and women in uniform in your prayers. Please keep it here on One News PH. Thank you, mabuhay, and God bless you.